Hafa days until Ruwami, and greetings para todos Hamzu. Greetings Gitanota Marianas. Thank you for joining us this afternoon in this session, one which I believe is shaping up to be such an illustrious assembly of scholars and experts presenting on a few topics of great importance for our community, our islands, and our society. Our first panelists are Andrew Tenorio and Rufina Mendiola. Andrew Tenorio is a program officer with the Guam Preservation Trust, and with his team envisioned a holistic approach to this project, linking education, culture, outreach, and historic preservation. And then you have Senora Rufina Mendiola, who is an administrator at the Guam Department of Education in the CHamoru Studies and Special Projects Division. Together with a cadre of 6 teachers from her division, they will be the pioneers who will implement this project in our public schools. So here's looking forward to a great presentation from this panel, the next panel, and the third panel. But for now, Mr. Andrew Tenorio and Senora Rufina, the mic is yours.
All right, half a day and buenas. Thank you, Mr. Camacho, for that introduction. Before we begin our slide presentation, I just wanted to give a little introduction of the Guam Preservation Trust. GPT is a public nonprofit corporation, and for over 30 years has worked to assist in preserving and protecting Guam's heritage sites. We are a hardworking staff of 4, led by Joe Pinata, Chief Program Officer, Ruby Santos, Administrative Service Coordinator, and Larry Borja, who's a Development Officer, and who will also play our presentation today. We remain engaged with our local community, working along with other community organizations, as well as regional and national partners. Today, we want to showcase one project that we work with Senora Rufina Mendiola and her teachers, and local musicians Jesse and Ruby, and cultural dancers to create something special for our community. So I'm going to hand it off to Larry Borja to begin our presentation.
Half a day and welcome to our session, Ekungok Estoria-ta, Listen to Our Stories, Historic Sites Education Series, a partnership project between Guam Preservation Trust and the Guam Department of Education CHamoru Studies Special Projects Division. Have you heard the following songs and listened carefully to their lyrics? Born in the USA, Rocky Mountain High, House of the Rising Sun. How about Inarahan by Kalapana or Tin House by the Sea by Ruby Santos? Do you notice what these songs have in common? These songs are all about places. Songs may invoke senses of meaning, emotion, and even mystery. Songs can convey information or legends about a place, like the song Deep in the Heart of Texas, a structure like the nursery rhyme London Bridge is Falling Down, or a landscape such as Oh Beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of green. These ideas were the inspiration for Ekungok Estoria-ta Historic Sites Educational Series. Ekungok Estoria-ta Listen to Our Stories is a Guam Preservation Trust project that brings this type of narrative to the local level to transmit important lessons of Guam's history and to assist in the preservation through use of our Chamorro language. How can we tie it in? To bring this idea to fruition, GPT engaged in partnerships nationally and locally. First, we responded to an opportunity to apply for a grant from the National Trust for Historic Preservation, Richard and Julia Moe Family Fund, whose goal is to fund projects that test creative, innovative breakthrough ideas and strategies. To guide us with our grant application, we look to GPT's vision statement that historic preservation on Guam is a public responsibility that is shared through education, cooperation, and advocacy, all linking to Guam's cultural heritage. Lastly, and equally important, we partnered with the Guam GDOE CHamoru Studies and Special Projects Division to support their mission to provide and implement educational programs that will revive and maintain the language and culture of the indigenous people of Guam. This project is a result of maximizing the synergies among GPT, GDOE, and NTHP. To assist us in putting this project together, we asked ourselves, what do we know about historic sites, the Chamorro language, and music? We know that historic sites have treasured stories behind them. In Guam, there is a need to find innovative ways to incorporate our Chamorro language and to perpetuate and preserve the telling of these stories. GPT and other organizations have advocated for place-based learning with the creative use of music sung in our Chamorro language. Lastly, songs are a useful tool to learn languages. They contain authentic language, provide vocabulary, grammar, and cultural aspects, and are fun for students. GPT tied historic preservation, community responsibility, language preservation, and songs through Ekungok Estoria-ta. There are 4 components that make this project a collaborative one. First, professional development for teachers is conducted, history methods, to teach them how to create place-based learning plans. Teachers visited the 10 sites and discussed the best way to present the lesson. Next, teachers began to write their narrative in Chamorro and to see how their narrative, lessons, and sample activities align with GDOE curriculum standards. I-CAN statements, lesson objectives, and suggested vocabulary to master and understand were developed. Third, the completed narrative was provided to the musicians who would synthesize the story to develop unique and original lyrics and accompanying melodies. Afterward, this music is shared with cultural dancers to enhance the transmission of the song and story. The songs and dances are professionally recorded. Finally, everything, the narrative, dance, and song are returned to GPT, where it is packaged for distribution digitally and in print form to be returned to the teachers. The teachers are now tasked to implement the project in their classroom and to also train other teachers on how to use their developed lesson plans. As a side note, originally part of the project was to provide a field trip for each of the Chamorro teachers to bring their students to the site and have the teachers also teach at the site. With the current public health emergency, we had to rethink how to do this and are now developing a virtual field trip that incorporates the narrative, song, and dance with scenes of the historic site. For this first series, the sites included Atsufuha, Campanadzon Malesso, Porte Nuestra Señora de la Soledad Zan Isengsong Humatek, Guma Congreso Legislaturan Guahan, Guma Jose Pangilinan Nuhan, Isengsong Litekzen, Conventon Malesso, Pali Diego Luis de San Vitores, Plaza de España, Zan Isengsong Inalahan. The outcomes. This community-driven project can now be used as a public resource and increase the capacity for Chamorro language teachers and learners to teach, speak, and enjoy learning about Guam history in the Chamorro language. It also assists the indigenous community learn about a place heard in their language to evoke for them greater meaning, emotion, and even mystery. The completed outcomes are available online at www.pacificpreservation.org/EIE. Lastly, EIE received additional grant funding to complete a second series with an additional 10 sites and to record with PBS Guam a virtual field trip presentation. Displayed before you is a walkthrough of the website found online at www.pacificpreservation.org/EIE. Visitors are able to read the background information about this project and browse the 10 lesson plans available for this first series. The Sites and Songs section of the webpage makes each recording available for streaming and downloading. The lyrics and guitar chords for these songs are found on the back cover of each corresponding lesson plan. We also place special recognition to the lesson plan authors who are dedicated Chamorro language educators in our Guam DOE schools. The final element for this project is a combined set of lesson plans which is in its final stage of editing in preparation for publishing. Illustrated before you is the lesson plan of the historic 1911 Jose P. Lujan House in Hagåtña by Julie Garcia. This set includes the Chamorro narrative seen in the second slide and the suggested vocabulary list on the third slide. Also provided are lesson objectives, I can statements, content standards and performance indicators, and lastly, the lyrics and guitar chords to the song. Next, we call in Senora Rufina Mendiola for her segment on content standards and performance indicators, which are used to guide the teachers in their lesson plan development.
Buenas. Of a day. Ko sinya nungzo guaho si Senora Rufina Mendiola. Sian magzo pago na poingin in pinatumizo todo para in Ekungok Estoria-ta. It's been so many years that we hear stories from the outside people writing our stories. Estoria-ta, it's us, the indigenous people of Guam, more importantly, MHC5, our teachers, that deals with our students and molding them to learn the stories of our places, important places. So Guam Preservation Trust have been our top organizers who always come forward to lend a hand as far as money is concerned. We don't have any money. Budget is always our constraint in the Guam Department of Education. And we thank the federal government, GDOE, for giving us. But then aside of that, there are grants that we seek. So activities goes on in this department, whether we have money or not. And one of the activity that we always look forward is in making something happen. So the content standard and performance indicators was adopted since 2011. And we're gonna refine this content standard. This 21, we're just evaluating it, and 22, we hope to refine it and make it more user-friendly. So the Ekungok Estoria-ta site is, it happens on Sundays. We go to 10 Sundays, we go to each site. We use our senses. We see, we hear in the jungle, we feel the presence of our ancestors. So through their wisdom, our teachers are able to really reflect and reminisce what happened many years ago. And then they tell their story by writing it down. So my teachers, there was a call out. I have 150 teachers. So definitely, I'm really glad that 6 of our teachers with 10 sites, it's really not enough. I was hoping to have a site per teacher, but there's another project that's coming out with Mr. Joe Kinata, and we will use those other teachers. So this one, I'm gonna talk about our standard. Our standard has performance indicators. So one thing that's good about developing from now on, since 3 years ago, any material that comes out of Guam Department of Education Chamorro Studies in our language includes the curriculum guide. So the curriculum guide this book could be used by anybody. So we have activities. And if a teacher wants to use other activities, why not? The thing about this that really is the students get to go and feel and touch it. The field trip that was mentioned earlier was every teacher that was involved with this project has 2 buses and to take their students over to the site, and the teacher would tell the story. But because of the new norm of learning, teaching and learning during the pandemic, it really hampered that situation, but we will not stop. We are doing a virtual field trip. And then it's our voices, it's the local voices. So this book that Mr. Joe Kanata, and especially with the music aligns with anything that we teach. That's part of our standard 4. Standard 4 has the culture aspect of our curriculum, and that has to do with the practices of so many things, the arts, the art of dancing, the art of singing, the art of making food, the art of visiting the site. So I was able to do 2 sites, and it was so close to my heart because I've never, just reading history when I was going to school about campanads and maleso. I did not really, it did not stay in me. But when I actually went there and I wrote the story of campanads and maleso, so I keep it in me, and it'll never go away. And so we do this to make sure that our students from pre-K up to 12th grade, and even at the University of Guam, whenever we tell our stories from our plays, it instills them, especially if they're from that site. So I thank Guam Preservation Trust, his staff, Mr. Joe Kanata, his staff, and the artist, the musician, Ruby Akinino. She is so good in making all the songs for every site. I mean, who would do that? I mean, God bless you, because I'm telling you, she really aligned the words with every story. So one of the things now for Guam education is that literacy plays a big factor now into our teaching and learning, and the tier 2 words. So many of the words, the vocabulary words that have been chosen out of the content standard that aligns with the site are tier 2 words. So even if it's a little bit hard, but if you start now, our students will always embrace what they know and they can practice it. So Sidus Maasi, I'm not sure how much time I'm given, but this type of, we took it to Nabe. By the way, I'm so sorry, I almost forgot. We took this Ekungok Estoria-ta to Nabe with the same teachers that wrote about the site. And the people that was there, the participants, the Hawaiians, different places throughout, they embrace what is happening in Guam, which they don't have. So they want to do the same thing, and they want to mirror what we're doing to their site in their places in the world. So thank Guam, we are doing the right thing. I thank this project, and it's not over. We have just begun. Sendongklun and Sizumasi Andrew for seeing this project and for allowing the Guam Department of Education teachers to make it into a lesson, to tell their stories. And it's so simple. I read so much about the Guam Congress building. I have the book, and Mr. Joe Kanata gave us so many resources, but there's so many to read. But once you go to the site and you feel it, the story comes in place. So you start writing about it. And Sizus Masi Talo, Sendong Pruna Sizus Masi.
Okay, thank you so much.
Before we go today, we would like to share with you a sample recording of the song based on the narrative for the Plaza de España.
Maila de Ekungok Historia, Pudi Plaza de España. Destina lugar de palacio, gobierno y tempo español. Mega significante capital agaknya. Ekungok Historia, Pudi Plaza de España. Igi mahatin mapupulo iramenta para i-Plaza de España. Igi matsukulati mahusa para pandumanya zani renenda. Iazudea kaigi sandati para funksyon zan aktibidad. Ikiosco zan kanyon mahusa para celebration official. Ekungok Historia, Pudi Plaza de España. Sumengot po fresco zango bonito na lugar. Mega na historia gaigi ki kapitan agaknya. Ekungok Historia, Pudi Plaza de España. Mega na turista magbisisita sa mausa para pandanya. Isla City, España, sumengat po fresco dan bonito na lugar. Ekungok esti Estoria, Isla City, España. Sumengat po fresco dan bonito na lugar. Mega na Estoria gaigi ikapitan agaknya. Ekungok esti Estoria, Isla City, España. Ekungok esti Estoria, Isla City, España.
Half a day.
Okay, Mr. Tenorio, is this and Senor,
That
this
completes.
okay, great. Thank you so much. That was a wonderful presentation. Thank you so much. Great job. And I'm looking through the chat here that we have on this Zoom session, and I see one question come up so far. Are there any plans to expand the historic sites education series by adding more sites on Guam?
Yes, we do have plans for 10 new sites. Our first series with this the first cohort was presented today. Right now, we are currently doing another round of 10 sites that will we receive funding from the Humanities Guahan and the National Endowment for Humanities, or also funding from GDOE. We receive additional funding from them. So we're doing another round of 10 sites. We did a call out for teachers. In December, we have a new cohort. We're doing professional development currently this month, and we will have it completed by July of this year.
Thank you
For
so
the
much.
new,
Yeah, thank you so much for that response. Really, truly appreciate it. I'm looking to see if there are any other questions, because I do have a question actually. But you know, and it's in line actually with. So we know that Guam has so many treasures that we can offer as a point of opportunity for educating our students, rising problem solvers, leaders, future leaders, the future pillars of our island here in Guam. When they start reading and they start looking at maps, once they start seeing the map go beyond Guam and it goes north to the Northern Marianas. Of course, I'm from Saipan, so I always have my affinity to finding and trying to kind of figure out how we can collaborate with our people and brothers and sisters within the many Mariana Islands. And so the question lies with perhaps are there future opportunities, considerations, if you will, to collaborate with our folks up in the Northern Marianas to show so that when that student rises and understands the sights and songs and arts and all the cultural aspects, they may question about what's going on up there and why am I not hearing anything about the Mariana, the entire Marianas, if you will.
okay, maybe I can start with that question, Senora. Well, one thing that GPT has been doing, we're talking about collaborative partnerships with national and regional partners. So for the past, I believe, 5 years, we've engaged with youth summits. We're receiving funding from the National Park Services, and we actually were able to gather folks from all of Micronesia, including the Marianas. So we get youth together, they learn about historic sites. We had a youth summit in Guam. We had a youth summit in, also, I believe 2 years ago in Rota. So we are engaging with other partners in the other islands and getting their youth together so we can develop that capacity. And this is something they explore now, putting Ekungok Estoria-ta in our youth summit package now. So, but Senora, for the
yes, Dr. Lawrence, thank you for that, because I'm also from Saipan, born in Saipan but raised in Guam. But anyhow, you know, we need to connect, and I have been connected with joiners for the CHamoru teachers in Saipan, Tinian, and Luta, and we share curriculum, we share materials. So yeah, I think that's one of the goals that Saipan can do with their historic sites there. I'd like to learn more about Saipan's historic site, and the way to learn it best is through what GPT is doing for Guam. So if they can collaborate and talk with their teachers and see how they can align the sites into the curriculum of their school, that'll be great.
Right. So as you mentioned, you know, capacity building, right? We're cultivating the next generation of critical thinkers to be protective, as you are a critical thinker today, protecting the culture and telling the story from our perspective, from our lens. We need to cultivate the future, and that is what this project, I believe, is doing, and then expanding it to those as well that are brothers and sisters of ours within the same culture, I think, is a very important thing to consider. So thank you very much for those responses.
You're welcome.
If there are any other questions, just go ahead and either you you know, post it on the chat, and I'll be reading just to see. Of course, lots of great kudos to this presentation. It's very informative, and you know, there's a lot of knowledge here to be gained, and a lot of confidence, obviously, as well, for what we see is going to emerge from this particular project. So kudos and congratulations to all of you who are involved in this. There's another question. Do you see storyboards for storytelling?
Well, I think for this project, we wanted to use the ears, Ekungok Estoria-ta. So we want people to first hear, you know, listen to the music, hear the stories, and see and make an interpretation, you know, in your mind. What did you understand? So we want that was the main focus of this place and of this project. But then the next part was also the place-based learning, right? So when we actually now that you hear the story, let's go to the site and take a look at it. So I believe storyboards could play a role in it, in developing the project.
So actually, we're making our story come to life. So our next component, I believe, Andrew, is that we go to the site and we introduce the site. We virtually have a field trip in the site. And, you know, so the senses, all your 5 senses plays a big factor in listening. Is very important, that, and then feeling it. And then I know it's very hard nowadays to touch things, but, you know, these kids, when they go back home, they can relate what they see, what they feel, what they hear with their parents and in the community. And that's one of the, in our constant standard, one of the performance is the communication in your community. So yeah.
Yes.
And also we're adding the dance component. So you were talking about storyboards. So after you hear the story, you can also see how music and dance can also tell the story. So you can also see that. So we're adding the dance component in this next round of the project.
Thank you. And, you know, it shows that this in of itself is a great lesson for all of us to be used as a model, whether you're piloting it now or, you know, cultivating it to a better, you know, project with intensity. Shows how the collaboration, not just the collaboration, but also using education, the Department of Education, to set those standards and ensure that it is part of this curricula that we are all aspiring to make sure that as we teach out in the field, they're brought back into the classroom, but there's the standards and the performance indicators really are a great measure for that. So thank you for that. One more question. Is the curriculum adaptable to students of different grades and ages? Such a great idea. Yeah.
The teachers in the system right now are K to 12. Okay, so if I look at this story and the teachers can adapt any grade. So it's a tier 2 words in the vocabulary, but for kindergarten, you limit it to like five important vocabularies. And then it goes rigorous up to the other grade level as it goes up a grade level. Yeah, and even the University of Guam, I'm using it. You know, I teach at the University of Guam, modern language CHamoru, and I use these stories, and we're going to go virtually on a field trip. Mr. Jokinata, if you're listening, yeah, you're welcome to take my class. to the field trip and the sites. And also, I just want to say that I've been listening to so many stories that have been written from the outsiders. I'm an author of an indigenous story. So now it's time that the Chamorro people, the na may Ekungok Estoria-ta, gof importante no may Ekungok Estoria-ta. Sa ginin Estoria-ta na sinya matungog po ilugata, itaw-tawta, inilalata, ikosombreta, ihinenggeta.
Thank you so much for that, ma'am. And to Brian Fitzgerald, who raised the idea of great to find historical sites that can teach about the shared culture throughout the archipelago. It could further preservation and strengthen ties in the Marianas. And we kind of had that, we alluded to that early in this, exchange of ideas right after your presentation, that there's consideration in expanding to the north, in the Northern Marianas, to collaborate and also, educate our folks about the different sites and the songs and the arts and all that from up there, as well as perhaps them coming down and learning about the sites cultural aspects that Guam had evolved over time through music, arts, and so forth, so that it's one culture, it's one group of islands and one Marianas. Thank you so much. Let me see, we'll definitely share with my schools tomorrow. Okay, so there are a lot of people that want to share this presentation. Excellent, great job. Are there any other questions?
If I may end with this note, anything that Chamorro Studies Division, whether we partner with other agencies that have been developed materials, it also goes to the non-public school, all the Catholic schools, our materials. It might not be enough for every student, but we definitely share DODEA, the academy, the Gohan Academy, and all the charter schools. And I would really like to share also to CNMI, the teachers in the CNMI.
Thank you. And last word, parting words, Mr. Tenorio.
Oh, well, again, we invite everyone to just go visit our website, and come July, see us again, because we'll have another round of 10. And also one good thing is that we're working with PBS now too. So, this is going to be, hopefully shown also on our TV stations, and also during Message Chamorro, you might even hear it on the radio station. So, yep.
Very nice. Thank you so much, everybody. Round of applause for great presenters this late afternoon. Thank you so much. We appreciate your participation in the conference. We're gonna at this move on to